Hello, vagina. Cheers to being a woman. But womanhood, it's a jungle down there. Get ready to be real, raw, and totally uncensored as we explore the depths of health, sex, motherhood, and relationships. Strap in for those topics that make you cringe, make you blush, and make you want to hide your face. Welcome to the Hello Vagina podcast. Hello and welcome back to the Hello Vagina podcast. With me today, I have a special guest. We have Grecian Martin. She is a wife, a mama of three, blogger and personal trainer. Welcome to the show.
Hi.
Now, you're a mama of three, but your journey there wasn't an easy one. So you got married when you were 23 and decided to try soon after for a bub. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
So we'd always wanted kids. So as soon as we got married, we thought we'd start trying, but we didn't know how it was going to go, obviously, because there's so many unknowns with trying. Some people fall pregnant straight away. Some people take 6 months, some people years. So we thought we'd start trying pretty much straight after the wedding, and nothing happened for a year.
Yeah.
So every month it was that trying to conceive, planning, scheduling when you have sex, scheduling when you're ovulating, when you're taking your temperature when you're ovulating. It's horrible. Writing everything down. Remember sitting and looking at the ovulation test, like, come on, hurry up.
Yeah.
What's going on? Where are my hormones at? And it's just that 2-week waiting for your period. Yeah. Sucks. Yeah. Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely. It's definitely not G-rated.
Good. Yeah, it's really heartbreaking, and especially when everyone around you is falling pregnant.
Yeah.
And when you want something so bad, you just notice everyone.
Yeah. It's like the whole world is pregnant. You're like, really?
Exactly.
I've never noticed that many pregnant people before in my life.
Yep.
And now everyone's pregnant or is pushing a pram. Totally.
Yes. And it's just that in the moment, I suppose you notice it. Whereas before you just kind of blur it out. Yeah. You're oblivious to it, but when you want something so bad, it gets worse and worse every month.
Yep.
But luckily, just as we went to the GP to get our test results, I suppose, to check where our hormones were, how Justin was, if it was me, if it was him, what was going on, we fell pregnant with Addie. So she's our first little miracle.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, there's nothing worse than trying. I've been there. I'm still unsuccessful at fertility challenged, as I like to call it, reproductively challenged. But it's hard, like, and you start to obsess over this. You're like, my boob tingle.
Every little thing, yes.
And then you're on the forums and you're like, who had a left boob tingle and still got a positive test? And like, the obsession gets real, and the deeper you get into it. We tried for a year with a miscarriage at the 4th month in, just at 6 weeks.
Yeah.
But yeah, you just obsess and obsess.
You do.
Obsess.
Everything. I remember being on those forums and you'd be like,
they're the worst thing ever. Like,
this.
I think at least our mum's generation didn't have those. So you just had the waiting, but they make it so much worse because you give yourself like the false hope of like being on these forums and you're like, oh yes, somebody else had a like itchy butt. Like, it's just the most stupid things. And you've never been so in tune with your body. Like, you would never, I'm like, do my boobs normally hurt before my period? Like,
do they hurt
remember
the same as last month? Like, and you're holding them, you're like feeling like, is it the same as last month? Is it not? Like, oh, I've got a cramp on this side. Yeah. Does that mean I've ovulated? Does it mean I haven't? Like, so it was very hard being obsessed every single month. Yeah. Like, so we're very grateful when that happened.
Yeah. And how was your pregnancy with her? Did you have a relatively normal pregnancy with her?
It was amazing. So she was perfect. Got to full term, 40 and 2, no sickness. I was able to train right up until the last moment. Like, we moved house, I think, when I was 34 weeks pregnant. Yep. So that was a bit stressful because I was like, pretty much you could come anytime now.
Yeah.
But luckily she held on in a way. Getting to 40 weeks is really hard.
Yeah.
But very grateful. But yeah, pregnancy-wise, she was perfect.
Yeah. Amazing. So then after Addie, when did you decide that you wanted to start trying for another one?
Because we knew it was like a year of trying for Addie, we thought pretty much straight away. So as soon as that postpartum bleeding kind of stopped and I got my cycle back, I think it was within the first 8 weeks, we started trying again. Didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah, definitely. And what happened the second time round?
Nothing. Nothing happened for, I think we got to 18 months, and I felt like I couldn't connect with Addie as much as I really wanted to, because I was so obsessed with trying to have another one. I felt our family wasn't done.
Yep.
Even though she was there, she was in the moment. So I do look back and kind of regret not enjoying my first pregnancy more, not enjoying that first stage more.
Yeah.
But like that obsession starts again. So every month you're trying, checking the tests, like making sure it's the right time. But yeah, 18 months, we thought, no, we go to the GP. It was over the 12-month mark that they like want you to wait.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they're always like, no, wait 12 months, then come back. And it's like, that 12 months is a long time.
Yeah. Even after a second one, so they didn't sort of give you, they were just sort of like, even though it took 12 last time, they didn't think that maybe to look into it any sooner, or they just gave that standard wait another 12 and come back?
Standard wait 12 months, come back. So yeah, we waited 18 months, got all the tests done, everything like that. Found out I had a low egg count. So through the AMH levels.
Yep.
Don't ask me to explain that more. But through the blood test with that, pretty much for a 25-year-old back then, I had like no eggs left. So to hear that is so heartbreaking. Because you think like, why the fuck is this happening to my body? Like, what have I done? I'm healthy, I'm fit, I've had no issues. Like, why me?
Yeah. It's definitely something that you wouldn't expect at 25.
No.
You know,
not at all.
And then you do, like you said, it's that everybody falls pregnant around you and then you can't. And then you look at it and you're like, you know, I had close family relative that was like severely overweight. And that was the hardest part for me, was like, your body is so unhealthy and mine is so healthy and it can't, like. And then you sort of, you know, for you, you'd experience women that are having babies in their mid-30s and into their 40s, and you're like, at 25, how do I not have eggs left?
Yep.
Like, what happened? Like,
what happened to my body? Why? Yeah. Is it something I did? Is it just genetic? Like, what the hell is going on? So yeah, that was really, really hard to hear, especially because hubby had like his sperm tested and he was fine.
Yeah.
So I feel like if it was a bit of both of us, that I wouldn't have felt so bad, but because it was just me, like, because I just wasn't releasing those eggs every month, it was like the hardest thing to get through my head. And that was obviously only the first stage of everything we went through.
Yeah. So what options did they give you based on that, or percentage of trying naturally, or they said
they said we could keep we could keep trying, because obviously Addie did happen, which was amazing. So we could have kept trying, and even now if we wanted another one we could try, but who knows if it's going to happen. But then they suggested to go to the fertility clinic, so we went off to Janaea and had more tests done, more bloods. Justin had more tests as well, and they said you can either try IUI, so where they take the semen sample and stick it up. They go when you're ovulating, see if it actually like joins together, makes an embryo. Or go through the IVF. So they gave us two options. Obviously, IUI is a lot cheaper. IVF is quite expensive. So we chose to try IUI because we knew that I have had a baby before. Like I have fallen pregnant naturally. So we went down that path, but unfortunately it wasn't successful. And that was heartbreaking again, because we just spent all this money. Everything seemed perfect on paper. All the plans were perfect. I released an egg, like they check that you're releasing. And the size of the follicle, everything like that. And it just didn't happen. So yeah, that was really, really heartbreaking, as you can imagine. But then after that, they said we could try again for IUI.
Yeah.
It's obviously cheaper, but then we thought, no, we want the opportunity to have more than one more baby.
Yep.
So, because we always wanted 2 or 3 kids.
Yep.
We got 3.
Yeah.
So in order to do that, we thought, nah, the best chance is to go IVF, because if we got any extra embryos, they could be frozen for the future. Yeah.
So IVF was the next step in the journey. And what was that process like? I think for a lot of people, you know, it's seeming to be a lot more common that we are having these fertility issues. And it was a conversation I actually had with another guest around the hormonal contraception and what effect it's actually having on our bodies.
It causes a lot of infertility.
Yeah. And that, you know, why it was never designed to be used as a long-term contraception. And then here we are taking it on a long-term, you know, for a lot of women, 10 plus years before they start having children. That's a long time for it to play havoc on the body. So
in the body. Yeah.
I guess IVF is definitely, and these assisted fertility treatments are definitely on the rise.
100%.
Really. So what was that like, having to go for the IVF? How many embryos or eggs? I don't know the correct terminology for what they do. I know that, you know, in a petri dish, it's a bit of like circle with a needle
under the microscope.
Yeah.
So we went through 1 round, which consists of obviously injecting myself with hormones, trying to get as many follicles to grow as possible, because in those follicles are the eggs or potential eggs. There's not a guarantee that if you get 20 follicles, you will get 20 eggs. So, because some of the follicles just don't have eggs in them. Justin gave his sperm sample. They get the embryos during egg collection, so they put you to sleep. Go in there. It's actual surgery, so you're quite drained after. Plus all the hormones you've just injected yourself. Your body is just everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. Plus the mental side of it. So the nurses were
and unsure and
just everything. The nurses were amazing that we dealt with. They try and keep you really grounded, but the first time you go through a round is hard. And again, no one talks about it. And especially when you're going through it, you don't want to talk to anyone about it. You're kind of embarrassed that you have to do IVF at 25, especially for us. I'm going to cry thinking about it, but it's really hard. You never think
that's
you're going to have to do that to get a baby. Maybe 30, 40, like further down the line. But not at 25. So they collected, I think we got 11 eggs. Then there was only 5 that survived, I guess you call, by the time they went to make them embryos. We lost 1 on day 1. It just didn't grow. And then we ended up with 4 perfect embryos after that. So 3 are frozen, and they used the highest grade one to transfer. So I was lucky that I could do a transfer that same month. Women have to wait till the next month, especially if their hormones aren't in line. So I was quite lucky that I could transfer that same month. And then you've got to wait that 2-week wait once again. All those hormones, just waiting, like, and I remember holding my belly, trying to talk to the embryo, as silly as it sounds, but trying to be really positive about it.
So 2-week wait, another 2-week wait on top of all of the other 2-week waits that you've already had to go through. But I guess this one's, you know, even more so because now it's that financial
burden, weight,
that you've sort of put onto it. You know, it's now not just sort of the trying and the emotional and the mental. You've now financially put a lot of money into
chucked like almost 10 grand down on this, trying to have this baby.
So did you wait the full 2 weeks, or did you test? I know that
I tested.
I know they tell you not to test.
They tell you don't test, because the last injection that you take to like help support the pregnancy, it actually has pregnancy hormones in it. So you don't want to test, but you do, and they tell you don't do it. So on the forum, you get on there and be like, wait until what day to start testing.
What day can I test? Day 11?
What day can I
day
test?
11 fine?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, whenever I could test, I did it. And I just kept testing day after day to make sure that line was getting darker and darker and not going the other way.
Yeah.
So that was lucky, very, very lucky for us that it did get darker.
Yeah.
And that blood test showed that obviously I was positive.
Yeah. So when do you go in for your first scan on that one?
7 weeks. So you got to wait. So you have that first blood test, and then you've got another one a week later. So week 4, then week 5, you've got another blood test, and then you've got to wait till week 7. So they want to make sure that there will be a heartbeat there if it's a successful pregnancy.
So what happened at your week 7 scan?
Oh my gosh. We found out we got 2 for the price of 1.
Twins.
Pretty much, yeah. So they did the ultrasound, and as soon as she put the
Doppler,
is that what it's called on it?
Yeah.
As soon as she put the Doppler on my belly and she did a little bit of a wiggle around, she was like, well, guys, and I was like, oh my God, my heart just sunk. Like we just both cracked up laughing. Like there was 2 heartbeats. We never expected that because we only transferred the 1 embryo.
Yeah. So I guess a lot of people think that, you know, there are a lot of twin pregnancies from IVF, but that is because you're generally putting in more than 1 egg with the hope that at least one takes. And then
so here in Australia, you can't actually transfer more than 1 unless you apply to the courts.
Interesting.
So if you've done like 20 rounds or something like that, you've got to have been going through it for a very long time for them to actually approve to be transferred. Whereas in America, you can have 5 transferred.
Yeah, right.
It could all be different grades.
Yeah.
And you just hope that 1 or 2 or 3 or the 5.
Yeah. Or all 5 take,
Yeah.
Oops.
Whereas, yeah, so our eggs, our embryo actually split.
Yeah.
So we think it was on the day 5, like of the transfer, going by how the Modi twins grow and split, I guess. That about day 5, day 6, so just after transfer that they split.
Yeah. Wow.
Which is crazy.
So twins. And how was this pregnancy in compared to your first?
It started off pretty much the same, like no sickness. I was very lucky that I didn't have any morning sickness, a few little headaches. Obviously started growing much quicker than me. But then at 16 weeks, we went for our checkup with our private obstetrician, and she noticed a big size difference in the heads. So you can see it on the screen. Like her ultrasound machine was quite old, and we're like, maybe it's just an error.
Yep.
But no, she got it straight on the phone to King Eddie's here and booked us in with the highest grade team. So Just and I were actually saying last night that back then we were so oblivious. We were so naive that we were like, yeah, nah, nothing will come from it. Like twins are always different size.
Yeah.
Little did we know what was going to happen.
What was ahead. So you then went across to the hospital and had a scan there. And what happened from that scan?
There was quite a big difference back then. They wanted us to keep monitoring because they can actually check the blood flow.
Okay.
So like in the cords, in their placentas, in their heart, like how everything's functioning. They've got more equipment, more like better stuff to keep an eye on all that. So we went for fortnightly scans, and they turned into weekly, and then it went to every 3 days. So until we got to 25 and 6.
And then you had to deliver early.
Yes. Yeah. So we knew from like that 16-week scan that we would most likely have to deliver early. Yeah. They were trying to get us to 28 weeks because that's when they say they're the most viable, because obviously that's 3rd trimester.
Yeah.
But they couldn't get us there.
So were you hospitalized at all prior to delivering the twins?
No, I was very lucky. They said for me to stay home on bed rest, which was hard because we had Addie, and Justin had to still work.
Yeah.
So he did have to take time off. So I stopped working at 19 weeks because they said I couldn't do anything to take blood flow away from Riley.
Yeah.
So I couldn't lift anything. So all my PT clients, I had to stop.
Yeah.
I couldn't lift any weights, like to help them rack and unrack their weights, anything like that. I couldn't do. I couldn't walk around the gym. I couldn't walk around at home. I couldn't pick Addie up. So it was quite hard.
Yeah, definitely. Especially she was, what, 2.5-ish around that time?
Yeah.
You know,
so she was still
they just don't
baby.
understand, like, why can't you pick me up? Like, I don't understand what's going on.
What's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was so good throughout the whole process.
Yeah. So delivering at 25 and
6. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the delivery and what happened next.
I'm shaking thinking about it. That's how much anxiety like it gives me every time you look back at the photos. And it was really hard that the Friday before we delivered, we had a scan. They kept an eye on Riley because Hannah was growing perfectly.
Yeah.
She was where she needed to be. She was just happy as Larry inside. And Riley wasn't. She was shunting blood to her brain and her heart to keep herself alive.
Yeah.
So her other organs were starting to shut down. She just wasn't growing. And the size difference got up to, I think, 55% difference.
Wow.
Like they're accurate by they're not accurate, I should say, measurements. So it was just an estimate. But the Friday we had first round of steroids to help their lungs.
Yep.
And then I think it was on the same day or the Sunday. Maybe I went back on the Sunday to have the second round.
Yeah.
And Riley's movements kind of slowed down a lot that Sunday. And it was lucky our obstetrician was on shift because being the weekend, they're usually not there.
Yeah.
So lucky she came in and checked them and made sure they were okay. And we went back on the Tuesday. She did another scan, had a look, and Riley just wasn't really moving.
Yeah.
Like her blood flow had not stopped, but pretty much was the slowest that the obstetrician had seen in a long time. So she reckoned she wouldn't have even made it another day.
Yeah. So they rushed you straight in?
Pretty much. I had to be on the magnesium drip for a few hours. I feel like saying 5 hours. Magnesium drip is horrible. It's like a burning sensation through your body, and that's to protect their brain.
Yeah.
So we're very blessed that we had that time to do that because lots of other babies that get born premature don't get the opportunity to have the steroids, have the magnesium drip, and a lot of them suffer because of it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So we were very lucky that we actually had that time to do that. Then that day, magnesium drip, went in to theatre that afternoon, and there was at least 30 people in the room. Like I've never seen so many people in a delivery room.
Yeah.
There was 6, I think, for each of the girls. The NICU nurses, the doctors, like the paediatricians, running stuff like people for me, the obstetrician, there was just a list of people.
Yeah.
Everyone was there. And I don't even know where to start with the emotions going through that.
I don't think anything prepares you for that. It's just not something you ever expect to happen. And I don't think there is any right emotion. It's everything. It's
literally
dread, it's fear, it's joy, it's everything rolled into the one.
Yeah. So obviously I knew I had to have a cesarean.
Yeah.
Because Addie ended up being cesarean, so we just knew that either way. To have that major surgery again and not know if either of them would survive coming out, being so little, not knowing if they were going to make any noise, not knowing if it was going to affect me. It was so hard. And lucky they both came out, Hannah first at 930 grams and Riley second a minute later at 515 grams, and that was with tubes. So she would have been under 500 grams without the tubes. But they both made a little bit of a squeak, like a meow almost. So that was like reassuring that, okay, they're here, they've made it through the birth, now to just get through the next stage and the next stage. Yeah.
And did they prepare you a lot for sort of what was to come, or they were just more focused on the now? and getting you to delivery?
They give you like a rundown of NICU beforehand. So if they know you're going to deliver early, they run you through kind of what it is. They show you, they don't take you into NICU, but they show you like a virtual tour.
Yeah.
And they explain this is what it may look like. There will be all these computers. There will be all these beeping. It is hotter. There's just so much they do, but not enough to prepare you for that first time walking in, like through those NICU doors.
Yeah.
No, nothing prepares you for that.
How long after delivering the twins did you get to see them again?
Well, it was that night. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that night. Justin, usually, so after birth, usually the dad goes downstairs with the baby while the mum's getting sewn up.
Yeah.
But I had a panic attack on the table. I didn't want Justin to leave.
Yeah.
As much as I feel guilty now that he didn't get to go down there with them, I needed him here, like with me on her own. I needed him there at that time because it was so traumatic.
Yeah.
So once I was calm and got myself together and almost done being sewn back up, he went down and visited the girls.
Yeah.
So he took some photos for me. And then when I was back in my room, he showed me the photos, but I just couldn't muster up the courage. And obviously I was still so drowsy from all the drugs and everything like that. So I just didn't want to go, didn't want to even start that journey.
Yeah.
Until that night.
Yeah. No, I can't even fathom the emotions that must be there. Like there's just nothing that can prepare you for
no, because you don't know what's coming, if they're going to survive the night, like if something's going to happen, plus you've got all the hormones that are coming after birth, like they still happen even at 25 weeks, they still happen. Then your milk needs to try and come in, so the nurses are trying to get you to hand express. So I had a couple like in the waiting bays, like recovery bays after surgery. One was like, do you want me to hand express for you? I was like, go ahead, do whatever you need to do. Just try and get milk out, because who knows if I was able to even get milk. So
well, that's true. I guess your body prepares for it at a particular point of pregnancy.
Exactly.
If you haven't made it to that point yet.
No.
Does it know what to do? Does it know that they're not there anymore? Does it know
that you've delivered or not?
Yeah. Wow. So how long were the girls in the NICU for?
Hannah was 15 weeks, so she came home a week after due date.
Yep.
And Riley was 5 and a half months, roughly.
That's crazy. That's just, I mean, the technology is amazing that we can, what we can do to help these babies alive and help them.
Like the doctors.
It's amazing, but gosh, the emotional toll of your baby spending their first 4 or 5 months in a hospital.
And not being allowed to touch them.
That just must be so difficult. So how old were they when you were allowed to actually hold them?
Hannah, we could give a cuddle. I think it was only a week later.
Yep.
Pretty sure. Maybe 5 to 7 days later, whereas Riley was a couple of weeks because she was tiny.
Yep.
And she was so fragile that even when they did her cares, so they give them a little wash, change their nappy, change the foot probe over to the other foot, turn them, because obviously they're not really moving much. And they need to be rotated.
Yeah.
Like a rotisserie chicken, really.
Yeah. From bed sores, like anyone that's in the same position for too long. Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, so they have to move them and stuff. And every time they did that, she would desat. She would have a braddy, so her heart rate would drop, her oxygen level would drop, and she was just so fragile.
Yeah.
You're sitting in there, like we'd sit there for hours. I'd have to pump, watching them, and you'd be fixated on those screens, those numbers, watching the oxygen saturation, watching the heart rate. And especially when they did cares, you're like waiting. Okay, are they going to be all right? Are they going to survive the move almost? And a couple of times they'd have to bring out the oxygen mask, and a team would run there and try and keep them stable. and then it'd all go back, and like it was just common. And the beeping of you. Oh, every time, even now when we have to go back to the hospital, if they're sick, that beeping is just, any NICU mum would understand.
Yeah.
It's just in the back of your mind.
So how were you doing in that time?
I thought I was okay. So I thought I was traveling okay. I had a counsellor come and check on me every now and then. But like, I thought I was progressing quite well until Hannah came home and Riley was still in hospital. Like, the first time you go home without your babies after giving birth, obviously it's heartbreaking. Yeah. Nothing prepares you for that. Like, I cried my eyes out the whole way home. Yeah. But taking one of your babies home, without the other, like, nothing prepared me for that. And that's when I hit my wall. That's when that postnatal depression started. That anxiety, everything. That's when I just broke into a million pieces. Because you think like your family's almost complete. And if anyone asks, like, if you go out, like, oh, that's a really cute baby type thing, and you're like, you want to tell them, like, there's another one, like, we've got twins. Yeah. Like, yeah, it's really heartbreaking. And did you get help for that? That's when you sort of knew that it was time to get some help. Finally, get help. So I did, because our journey was such a roller coaster. Like, I was hospitalised a couple of times after, because my scar got infected from going backwards and forwards to the hospital. So there was that to process. Plus, obviously, the girls, they went up and down with sickness, injuries, different things. Yeah. And then Hannah coming home before Riley, plus Addie at home. Plus you've got Addie as well. Like, how did she cope with all of that? I mean, she was actually really good. She got palmed off to a lot of family. Yeah. So she was like thrilled to be with other people. Yeah. But she knew her sisters were in the hospital because they were sick. Yeah. Because they were born too early. So we explained everything. Even through IVF, we explained everything to her. Yeah. Because she would wonder, like, why are you stabbing yourself, Mummy? Like, why are you doing this? Yeah. Yeah, why? So we explained it, and we never thought she'd process it, but we didn't want to hide it from her. Yeah, it just got to a point where I needed help. There was something needed to be done. And so I went on to antidepressants. And once that started to work, it was much better. Yeah. It's definitely, it's a traumatic experience. We don't hear enough about PTSD from birth, but, your whole journey, to not be traumatized would be the unusual thing. Like, you expect to be traumatized by that kind of a journey. And, I can't even fathom how difficult it would be to just go back and forward to bring one home. So the girls now are both home and growing, and tell us a little bit about how they are now. So what are they, 20 months actual? Yep. Yeah, I think roughly. It gets too hard to work. It gets so confusing. So do you go by like their actual, or because I know that people might know, but when you have a preemie baby, they do a corrected date. So obviously when they were born versus when their due date when they should have been born. Should have been, yeah. So now when they were younger, we went more by corrected age, whereas now they're a bit older, they're almost like 2. We kind of more go by, like, when people ask how old they are, I'm like, oh, they're 20 months. Yeah. It's just easier. And then we get the question like, oh, they're really small though. Yeah. Like, why the size difference between them and all this stuff? But they actually came very early. Yeah. Then the spiel happens, like if they have time and stuff like that. So sometimes it's just easier to go, just to laugh it off and be like, they're fine. I guess you don't think about that. The questions people ask are just so blatant and so out there sometimes when you're pregnant. Like, if you get married, when you're having a baby, like, nobody knows what you're doing behind closed doors and that you're having any difficulty, which just like burns you on the inside when people are asking. You're like, yes, I ask my ovaries the same question all the time. Yes, exactly. Every month I've been asking that. And then, oh, your bump's so big, your bump's so small. Like, we don't go up to people and be like, oh, you're so overweight.
But
exactly.
for some reason, we feel no problem with telling pregnant women that they're big or small.
No, big or small, or like your kids are small, big, like how they're progressing. Even now, everyone's like, do you compare the two girls? Because they're so different. Like Hannah's so much bigger. There's like a 3 kilo size difference.
Yeah.
And there has been for ages now, like as long as I can remember, there's been that massive size difference. So there's that to compare them. Then there's their developmental side. So Riley's about 3-4 months behind Hannah. Yeah. But we knew that because she was so small, she had a harder start. Yeah. She was on so many rounds of steroids, so we don't know what that has done to her development. Yeah. And we won't really know until she starts growing more and more. Yeah. So it's really, really hard to not compare the two. So even in hospital, it was really hard to not compare them because you'd celebrate one success by Hannah, but then Riley could be back on the ventilator again. Yeah. It's like a step backwards. Then Riley would go step forward or 2 steps forward, Hannah would go 1 step backwards. So it's really hard, but now we've gotten to the stage where they're individual and we know they're individual. Yeah. We know that Riley's going to be that little bit behind. Like she's just started to pull herself up and walk along things, whereas Hannah's been doing that for a few months. Yeah. She can say a few words, whereas Hannah can say more. So, but she's still progressing and she's progressing at her own rate. And that's the main thing. So as long as she travels up that little curve at her rate, she'll be fine. Yeah.
And are they still needing to have doctor visits because they were so pregnant?
So, yes. So when Riley came home on oxygen, for a few months, we had a lot of checkups. Mm-hmm. And slowly over the year, they've been discharged from things. So Hannah's got a few checkups with her foot because she got a TPN burn. Yeah. So that's a few checkups. Riley's still under the respiratory team because when she gets sick, has to go back on oxygen. Yeah. Who else is she? They're under a few other bits and pieces, and the peds keep an eye on them as well. So they check them because they came under 30 weeks. They check them at 1 year, 2 years, I think every year until they're 5. Yeah. Yeah, so there's a few, but it has definitely slowed down, which is good.
Yeah. But they're, as you can see on your social media, they're happy, healthy little girls.
So cheeky. Oh,
I did see Hannah trying to climb onto the windowsill the other day. I had a little chuckle.
Oh, so cheeky.
They say they're just boys and climbers, but the girls are climbers too.
These two. Yeah. And you want them to be feisty. So when they're prem, they've fought for their life from day one. Yeah. So you kind of want them to have that fight for everything and that cheekiness. Yeah. And both of them have from day one. Like even Riley, when she was going downstairs from just being born, she pulled out her tube. Yeah. So she pulled out her breathing tube. Like what 500-gram baby does that?
Her tube would be like half of that weight. Like,
I know, right? Just like, how did she have the strength to even pull that out? Yeah. After just being born, but she was ready to fight. Like, so it's so funny.
So what are some resources that you have come across in any part of your journey that are beneficial to anyone out there that's, dealing with infertility, dealing with twins or have had Premmies and things like that? Are there some resources that you found really helpful?
So when I was obviously going through everything, I would look up the hashtags. So hashtag like the growth restriction, and there was hardly anything. There was always the twin-to-twin syndrome, so when one steals from the other, but that wasn't quite what we went through. Yeah. So that's why I started to share our story, because there wasn't really much for me to go by. Yeah. There was always that negative side of things. So it was more, unfortunately, this twin didn't make it, things like that. So that put a real big downer. So I wanted to create my own resource, obviously, with my social media, that if someone was going through the same thing, ask for hope. So there's, obviously I started doing that. Yep. Then there is a lot of premature foundations.
Yeah.
And lots of research. So definitely look into those. Twin wise, there is so many twins on social media. So I just say go look at all them.
Yeah. On how to make twins work for you, because I guess that's
yes.
One baby is one thing, two that want to be fed at the same time need to be put to sleep at the same time. There's that tiny window between like I'm ready to go to sleep and I'm not going to go to sleep for another hour now if you don't get me down. So trying to juggle two
plus a toddler
plus a toddler, yes, plus Addie that's been trooper through all this. So how's she with her little sisters now that they're...
Now she is doing much better. So because she likes that they can interact with her, they can play with her. They do steal her toys and like rip out her hair. But when they first came home, she was a bit like, oh, what's going on? She knew she had 2 babies in the hospital, so she knew that they were there. Yeah. She didn't see them. Yeah. I don't think she quite understood that they would come home.
Yeah. Because she wasn't able to see them when they were in the NICU.
No. So in Perth here, only immediate parents and grandparents can visit. Yeah. So she did get a quick look at Hannah when Hannah was really sick and had to be wheeled through NICU and out to get an X-ray. Yeah. She got a quick, I grabbed them and I was like, can she just have a quick look? So she got a quick look then. Yeah. But it was like a second. Yeah. So I don't think
she's just seeing you, just showing you these pictures of random babies, and she's like, you're like, these are your sisters. She's like, okay, if you say so.
But now, she's enjoying them a lot more because she can interact with them.
Yeah. Besides the toy stealing.
Yeah. Besides all that and the hair.
As long as they don't touch my things. Like I like it. They play with baby toys.
Yeah. She's always like, I'm going to go to my room for some alone time now. Oh. And then I'll go and she'll go and play by herself. So it's really cute. So she knows, she's at that age where she knows if she's had enough, she can walk away and go by herself.
That's so cute. Some alone time. We all need some alone time in life, don't we? Awesome.
Thank you. Walk away.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you so much for sharing your story. It's definitely, I'm sure, inspiring and will definitely help somebody else out that's going through that journey. I hope so. To know that, unfortunately, infertility can hit you at any age. It's not something
age.
Just for later in life, like we assume it's going to be. Wait your 12 months, but definitely go get checked.
Exactly. Even if there is nothing wrong, go get checked. The earlier the better, that you can jump on top of it.
Because it definitely becomes just such a mental drain to you. Like trying to conceive is just such a mental drain.
And then everyone goes just relax. It'll happen when you relax. It's like, you can't relax. No. Stop telling me to relax. Yeah. It's not that easy. Yeah.
People are like, oh, when you start a business, it'll happen. Nah, it didn't.
Yeah, when you go on holidays.
You least expect it. Nah, it didn't. And then you're like, no, I'm using a bloody menstrual cup to keep semen near my cervix. I'm trying everything over
everything.
I've got beeswax supplements, you name it. I've seen somebody write it. I've tried it.
Tried it, yeah.
People just, people don't I think people don't understand, and I think we need to be more mindful of the things that we say to people.
Yes, and I find it's the older generation.
Yeah, you don't.
Older generation don't understand because obviously they never talked about it.
No, that's right. Thank you so much for your time today. People can find you over on Instagram at Growing Our Tribe. Yep. I will pop your blog also over on the Hello Vagina website. They'll be able to find the link to your blog so they can keep up to date with your family. But thank you again.
Thank you.